Once upon a time, in a small market town in the East Midlands, there lived a good-looking young man named Will Dickington. His number one job was delivering the morning newspapers, where he was always followed by his loyal cat. Will had one major problem, however, as every time he delivered his papers, he would slap his thigh, causing great marks and heavy bruising, but he liked his job very much and whistled his way happily through his round. He would deliver his paper and magazines to houses both large and small, and although most of them had the Times and Telegraph, there was a moderate demand for the Mail and Sun, as well as magazines such as Practical Gardening and Health and Beauty. It was amazing to see how many women would rise early just to take a peep out of their windows to see the handsome young man. One of those who fancied him something rotten was named Cinderella, who would get up early and make the excuse of sweeping the pavement outside the coffee shop just to see Will. His great desire was the wicked fairy, and indeed her sexy outfit was a sight for sore eyes, and that included Will's. Her real name, in fact, was Bellasconi, and he would wait every morning until she appeared to have her morning coffee at the posh coffee shop, waiting to chat her up, while poor Cinderella was distraught at being totally ignored by the good-looking Will. One day, whilst in the middle of his round, Will was just passing the chocolate shop when the sexy wicked fairy casts a spell on him, and totally disorientates Will, who starts to deliver all the papers and magazines to the wrong houses. The residents of West Street, who consider themselves a cut above the rest, are particularly upset, and many of them show their instant disgust and complain to the paper shop, as some of them had also received Health and Beauty and Nudist Weekly instead of the Tatler and Good Housekeeping. The ugly sisters who live halfway up West Street appear not to be too cross, having received Beauty and Style instead of their normal magazine, Ugly Sisters Monthly. Will returns to the paper shop after his round, but he is so late and there had been so many complaints that the nice man at Oundle News had no alternative but to fire him by showing him the red card. Will decides to seek his fortune, and taking his worldly goods and his beloved cat, heads for nearby Crowby, the Scottish dyslexic town. On his way he passes the wonderful Oundle Cinema, which regularly shows great movies. And eventually meets up with Snow White and her 7 dwarfs, who are just setting up a car washing business. Snow White, who looks like a team manager for a football club, blows her whistle and brings her team to order. And offers them a nice cup of tea. finds she has a cup short, but at least has an apple, which in true pantomime fashion is poisoned. Thanks to a smallest dwarf, at 6'8", she is saved from a fate worse than death. Will at this stage is feeling at a very low ebb, but suddenly he hears the bells of Oundle, rung as a guest attraction by Quasimodo. Decides to return, bringing his cat, who yet again appears to have changed colour. And with a slap of his thigh, he starts back to Oundle. As he passes the allotments on the Bennyfield Road, he sees Jackie, of beanstalk fame, the obsessive-compulsive gardener, sowing her beans, not as some of you may have thought, her wild oats. As if by magic, the beans grow instantly, in 57 varieties already packed. Jackie, never one to miss an opportunity to make some money, dashes off to sell her wares, and possibly the beans as well. Continuing onwards towards Oundle, Will passes Rapunzel's house, and seeing her plaits, he wonders if it is the hair way to heaven, or just another advertisement for Raff's hairdressing salon. Will once again passes the wonderful Stahl Cinema, which shows regular great movies. On reaching the marketplace, he finds Sleeping Beauty in stitches, although on further inspection she's asleep at her spinning wheel. And determined not to wake her up, Will quietly tiptoes past her. Not having had a drink since Croby, Will wanders into Amps, the well-known wine and beer shop. And whilst he's in there, he polishes off a couple of bottles of local beer. Suitably refreshed and still very much in control of his senses, Will emerges with a dusty bottle marked Lamb. Get it? Rubbing the dust off the bottle, and in time-honoured fashion, and according to all good fairy tales, a genie appears, and as always grants Will one wish. Collecting the money, Will forgets his Moggy, who by this time looks hungry and ragged and really should be taken to the RSPCA. Will rushes over to find the sexy fairy Bellasconi, who's sitting outside the coffee shop, while a woman inside is trying to cash in on the movie by taking photographs. As soon as he's gone, however, she grabs the large bag of money, stuffs it in her briefcase, and slinks provocatively down the road, and through the blue door of a very large school. On reaching the door, he sees a letter of rejection calling him a sucker. Will, of course, is absolutely heartbroken. Cinders, who is still sweeping outside the coffee shop, although someone appears to have nicked her vacuum cleaner, has seen the whole scenario. She rushes over to Will, sits him down, and goes into the coffee shop and buys him a cappuccino, ignoring the woman in purple who's still taking photographs. And she comforts Will as best she can. Suddenly, and in order that the story has a happy ending, Will realises that he's in love with Cinderella after all. And after giving her the ring and spilling coffee down her leg, he notices her poor bare feet. Will rushes off to Cotton's to buy some shoes. And he returns with a pair of crystal slippers. Which fit Cinderella perfectly, and which should certainly suit the English weather down to a T. They walk off hand in hand into the sunset to live happily ever after.